This comes as a surprise to a lot of people, but I actually didn't initially like Blam. The first time I read it, I initially read it because funnily enough, I saw the video that PewDiePie made saying Blam was his favorite manga. And during that time, I was eager to check it out for myself, and my initial reaction was, I found myself getting completely bored of the story. Like, because this manga is basically a show don't tell type of deal, I was someone who was still into the more mainstream stuff and haven't really read much seinen before, or even like manga that is obviously portrayed to be deeper than you thought it was. I was still very shonen pilled, I should say. To be fair, I was never really the biggest fan of like the cyberpunk genre in general. Even now, it's still a genre that I probably don't read or watch about the most because I think a lot of sci-fi stories, its setting mostly takes place in very urban dystopian landscapes where you will get a lot of very similar characters and ideologies of like the theme of its humanity, where humans lose sense of self because of the advancement of technology, things like that, I guess, that made the genre overly saturated. Let's say, look at Alita Battle Angel, Dorohedoro, Akira. Not to say these series are bad, far from it. These manga are incredibly well written stories with amazing artwork, but the aesthetic pretty much has the same vibes. But who am I to judge, since I'm the guy who's literally a fan of an overused genre. Check this video out, by the way. It's great. Anyways, my initial reaction towards Blam was that of boredom, or at least I was not very heavily engaged with the story. It's a manga that people can easily get confused with. I certainly did the first time reading it, but I still definitely appreciate what it was going for and how it was exceptionally executed. I find Blam's ability to visually represent the story it has through the medium of its artwork to be amazing, and I believe it to be the best at doing that form of storytelling, rivaling even Berserk or Vagabond. Being able to thoroughly visualize that is so important in the world of manga. Most of the chapters in Blam don't have any dialogue, and it's impressive how it manages to tell a scene with very few panels, as well as making it a very quick and easy read for the most part. But having that sort of artistic choice runs the risk of getting lost in the story or missing some of the important parts of the plot, because it doesn't have a proper explanation, unlike those with tons of exposition like Hunter x Hunter. I mean, look at this. I got pretty lost and confused myself during certain moments in the manga, even though this manga is relatively short with only around 60 or so chapters. Reading this again after years of reading manga was pretty interesting, since I think it shows how much I have grown in terms of understanding manga or stories in general. I was still pretty much a teen who was never into stories that require a lot of thinking, you know? I was still in the phase of preferring like battle action series. Like if Demon Slayer aired a few years earlier, I probably would be a part of the fandom and enjoyed it, but thankfully it wasn't. Now I can fully realize how mediocre the story of Demon Slayer actually is. So yeah, reading Blam a second time after a few years was an interesting experience, I'll say. I mean, Blam went from being a manga that I did not particularly like due to confusion to a manga that I consider to be one of the most unique experiences when it comes to reading a story. The creativity of world building alone sets us apart from others. When I mentioned I don't like cyberpunk, the manga does such an amazing job in recreating that genre into something that is refreshing, making it easy for me to read and have a consistent way of enjoying the story. I won't go into the major plot points of this manga because I highly recommend for anyone to read it. It will honestly give you a totally unique experience, and I know for sure you will enjoy it. The overall strength of Blam's way of storytelling is the ability to communicate the plot through its lack of dialogue, alongside some well-introduced side characters that does the job well in also driving the story forward, having more long-lasting impressions that don't burden the story whatsoever, which is always appreciated when there are characters like that. The character designs of the people and the monsters are very much in theme with the world of Blam and its plot. The manga also has some great pacing because of the way it showcases its paneling and dialogue, and with there being so little dialogue, whenever there is one, you know that piece of information adds importance to the overall story, pushing it forward since this leads to what the protagonist is trying to accomplish. The fact that Blam is rarely talked about anymore is such an upset. With so many manga that are known for its uniqueness, I think Blam takes the #1 spot for me, which is crazy to think that I used to say this manga was boring. I absolutely love the story now. It's definitely within my top mangas of all time, so you should definitely read it. And also thanks to PewDiePie for recommending it to me. As always, if you are new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on the bell notifications. Peace out.